Welcome to Techstination. Joining us is Craig Mento, the CEO of Triple Impact Connections. Thanks for joining us, Craig.
Thank you for having me, Fred.
And you're using technology for some interesting things here, Craig. Give us an overview, first of all, of what Triple Impact Connections is all about.
Well, we have a three-folded outlook and mission. One is to hire and promote active military spouses into our employment, which is customer contact, interactions, call center work, if you will. And to that end, then we build an architecture and a strategy for that work to be very flexible and using technology both in center as well as at home or remotely. And then thirdly is to equip our employees with some career education for them to be successful in whatever walks of life that they're looking forward to, whether it's with us or with another employer. So that's what we've done. We're about 2 years old. Our first location and our corporate headquarters is in Killeen, Texas, next to Fort Hood, and we use Fort Hood basically as our foundational outpost on understanding the military spouse employment program, which is a DoD function, and from that's where we draw our first set of workforce.
Now, describe for us what the need is like here. Many of us aren't really familiar with what's out there in the world.
Okay. Well, typically companies have a need to talk to their customers. So those would be our clients. Our clients can range from currently quick service restaurants, and it's been an interesting time, and we'll talk a little bit about that during the time of COVID, as well as larger institutions like banks and financial services and insurance companies. So the need is for those companies to have a workforce that can handle their customers' communication, billing adjustments, wanting to know more about products and services, inquiries, general types of inquiries, and all the way to technical support. Something's broken and they needed to get it fixed, or kind of, the how-to. So those answers that you typically cannot get easily online through the company's website or resources, those turn out to be either calls or emails or chat sessions to our company, and we handle it on their behalf.
Beyond that, the need on the part of the military spouses for employment, especially today during a time of COVID.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of intriguing, and this is what really got my interest to get involved with a bunch of colleagues and West Point classmates that looking back at the enlisted ranks primarily, where the training that would go on with a service member 2, 3, 4 years into their hitch, their term of service with the military, we needed to find out, and the Department of Defense wanted to figure out how they could retain those people so they would re-up and they would re-enlist. And to that end, it was found out that it was through a lot of survey work about 10 years ago that they wanted to provide better income so they could raise a family. So there's a couple of different ways to actually service that request. One would be to pay the enlisted folks more money, which is really not a leading option. And secondly was to go find companies and employers that actually would focus on working with the military and bring into promoting the military spouse into those companies like Triple Impact. And our deal was to double the income of an enlisted family's annual income, so that they could actually, think quite seriously about having, children or buying a house and the like, and to re-up into service. So that was the mission, and I think we've just gotten off the ground with that. We'll be quite successful with it, and to that end, then we actually cater to the needs of a military spouse, especially in terms of deployment, as I think we all know that these service members have been deployed, several times, whether to Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places. And to that end, we will cater to understanding, giving them pre and post deployment leave, understanding more the dynamics of what goes on post, and helping out with some of the child services that we could aid these families with young children. So we have a very special view on how to work with our employees versus a commercial company that doesn't really focus on the needs of a military spouse.
And an issue many of the spouses face very often is having to move from time to time to areas around military bases. And working with you, I imagine that makes life a little easier.
It certainly does. Clearly, the service members get transferred, and with that, we're able to let their jobs become portable. Once they're trained and up and running, we've actually had a couple of members that got transferred to Fort Bragg in North Carolina, got transferred out to Monterey, out to California. So with that, the spouses were able to take their job with us to the new post. So it's actually worked quite seamlessly.
For the most part, they're working from home?
Oh, absolutely. We actually built the company with that in mind. And then COVID actually, hit back in March, and I think it was the first week of April, the state of Texas was shut down going into the office. So that afternoon, I think it was April 8th, if I'm not mistaken, our workforce that was based at our brick and mortar location in Killeen went home with the technology and have been working there ever since. Since then, we've actually hired people remotely as well as trained them. Now, when we say remotely, our focus is typically where the people live, and in our case, they live within the same zip code, frankly, of the post. So we have the luxury of having a work-at-home workforce, but in relative terms, they're very closely linked geographically. So it's actually worked out quite well with us going through this period of COVID.
And the technology really that's out there has enabled this.
Yeah, it's been an enablement. I mean, we use basically in our business, there's two pieces of major technology. One is for infrastructure, and the infrastructure is kind of databases and where the administrative systems and the analytic systems basically reside. And we have a vendor that gives us to that up in the cloud. And with that, we were able to pick up a lot of the security and SOX compliance, which is fundamental, frankly, for us being able to do this work remotely. And then secondly is the communication platform, how the phone call or the email or the chat comes in and out of our center, voice recognition and interactive voice response, which is when you call up and they say, press 1, press 2. So all that technology, once again, is up in the cloud, giving us entire flexibility in being able to quickly scale up to our clients' needs and to be able to do that independent of a location. So that's worked out quite well. Clearly the technology over the past 10 years with service-oriented architectures and the ubiquitous broadband network has enabled this capability set for work to be done remotely. And I think we've seen this in businesses. Not every business actually has the luxury that we believe this particular one does, that we're involved with, where technology has been a very strong leverage point for us to not just stay in business, but for us to actually grow. So that's been a very good outcome for us to make the investment up front that we were going to be geographically independent of where our technology actually resided to grow the business itself.
Terrific. So where can potential customers, companies, go to get more information and potential employees too?
Yeah, well, great question. Thank you. Certainly for the military spouses, there are many bulletin boards that the Department of Defense and the local forts and bases afford the families and the spouses themselves. So they'll go on to the website for that particular fort and look for military spouse employment opportunities, of which we're a primary partner with that program. For our clients, so far, we've rebranded ourselves with a new look and feel at triple-impact.com, our website, to actually find out more about the company. And from that, you'll get you can directly work with me or one of my colleagues to better understand how maybe we can serve a client. So with that, then we're working with our clients. And then we'll get word of mouth. Right now we have about 12 restaurants that use us, 12 chains. And with that, a lot of the movement inside that industry segment, they become aware of us because they've either just left one of our clients or they're going to one. So we actually have been able to actually grow our business. And we'll keep doubling our business every quarter outlook for the next 6 quarters. So we will grow from about 100 to 1,000 people over the next year, let's say.
Well, congratulations on what you're doing there. The website, once again, is triple-impact.com. Craig Mento, thank you for taking the time with us.
Thanks so much, Fred. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Now this. It takes a lot of listening to build a better radio, and that's just what the folks at C. Crane have done. Bob Crane and his crew, nestled among the rivers and tallest trees in the world in Fortuna, California, have made a habit of listening to their customers. And that's just what they've done in building the CC Skywave SSB, the Swiss Army knife of portable radios. For everyday listening to AM or FM in the yard or patio or on the nightstand, without having to drain a mobile phone battery, it's a great companion. But it is also a companion equipped for NOAA weather information and alerts that can be life-saving. You can listen to FEMA and Coast Guard transmissions too. Beyond all of that, you can tune into shortwave signals from around the world. It's compact, easy to take with you, and built to last. The CC Skywave SSB. Click on the link at Techstination.com.